So I'm really very pleased to be here this afternoon. Some of the numbers that were run off, just to put it in context for you, that we're currently importing about $700 million worth of staples every year, and those are the items of rice and wheat and corn and soya and so on. $260 million odd worth of fruits every year. Of that, apples and grapes feature very prominently. I have to tell you, I remember when I was growing up, we only had apples and grapes at Christmas time. Now it's available all year round, and in fact, very recently, the ministry started a program of planting a fruit tree in every school across the country. We started with 561 primary schools. And without fail, every child, every school we went to, and we asked what fruits were grown in Trinidad and Tobago, and I'm talking about 4-year-olds up to 11-year-olds. The first answer was apple, and the second answer was grapes. And I'm talking about schools not just in the urban areas like Mova and so on, but as far south as Pinal, where you were. It's a rather surprising answer, but nevertheless puts in context the amount of work that we have to do, but also puts in context the opportunities available for agri-business entrepreneurs. Many of you may have seen recently that we grew our first crop of commercially available onions in Trinidad and Tobago down at Tucker Valley. And I say to people that when I hold up these onions in my hands, they're not really onions I'm holding up. What I'm holding up is the potential available to the people of Trinidad and Tobago of the things that we can do if we only looked a little bit further than our noses. Because even in the ministry, up until 6 months ago, I was told by many people who've been in the ministry for many years that we could not grow onions in Trinidad and Tobago. Because the last time we tried it was 40 years ago and we failed. And so therefore we couldn't grow onions again in Trinidad and Tobago. In about 3 or 4 weeks' time, we'll also be unveiling our first crop of commercially grown carrots in Trinidad and Tobago. Something else that we were told that we couldn't do. And the purpose of it is to show that we have the ability to substitute a number of products in its existing form, grown in the way we want to grow it, in fact, with a better product, because all of those who have tried the onions have said it's actually a much better quality product than that we're importing, because it's actually fresh. When we import produce, when we import onions into Trinidad and Tobago, it's many times stored for 4 to 6 months before it's actually shipped to Trinidad and Tobago. But the purpose is to show that we can actually substitute a number of items that we're currently importing. We have been importing close to, in the last 5 years, close to about $100 million worth of onions. Now, can you imagine, on about 300 acres of land throughout the country, we could actually replace our onions that we currently import by 100%. So I start by giving you some of the some basic information to give you an indication of the kinds of opportunities that exist. Dr. Prasad talked about our rice industry. We are currently importing 95% of the rice that we consume. 95%. We import over 30,000 tons of rice per annum. A lot of it from Guyana, but a lot of it from the US and from Thailand and so on. In about a month's time, the ministry will continue with its land distribution program, and we will be giving out a further 2,000 acres of land for the purpose of growing rice and to encourage people to get back into the rice sector. So after 50 years of independence, we are now on our way to trying to make Trinidad and Tobago a food secure nation. And why are we doing that? Because when we first came into office, we realized that during our election campaign in 2010, the two things that were uppermost on people's minds were crime, number one, and the second was the cost of living. And the cost of living is driven primarily by the price of food. We are importing into Trinidad and Tobago $4 billion worth of food every single year, and have been doing so for the last 4 or 5 years. $4 billion worth of food. In the CARICOM region, and I say this for a particular reason, the CARICOM region imports $25 billion worth of food. And the reason I give you that figure and that information is it gives you an understanding of the opportunity that's available on our doorsteps. It gives you an understanding of the fact that you don't need to look at markets like North America and the UK at this point in time, but there is a market directly on our doorsteps that if we do certain things right, the market is ready there for us. and many of our speakers, and the reason why Mr. Ramjatan's company, Baron Limited, would have been successful, is that they are able to produce a product that is delivered on time. When they say they will deliver it, it's delivered. It'll be the same quality that was the last shipment that was approved would have been. It would have been generally the same price. So they would have they are running their organization as a business.